Hello and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech idea. Today we are taking a look at a new secret layer commander, so stay tuned as we take a look at Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima. But before we jump into today's video, I want to make a shout out for Mythatom. Check out their high quality Magic the Gathering and other fantasy products via the link in the notes below and use my discount code LATSEL for 10% off your order. Jin Sakai is an Esper commander with a very powerful triggered ability, because his first triggered ability says that whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, which is already quite strong in my opinion because having card draw in your command zone is always a powerful thing. His second triggered ability allows us to give a creature unblockable or double strike if it attacks one of our opponents alone. This means that if we have 3 creatures attacking each of our opponents separately, we get this trigger 3 times. This makes Jin Sakai an extremely powerful commander, because as we are in Esper colors, we will play a bunch of creatures that have very powerful connect triggers, but overall I gotta say that this deck really feels like a control beatdown list, because due to being us in Esper colors, we have a bunch of access to a lot of control elements, and we do also play a bunch of really nasty and powerful creatures with strong connect triggers. Depending on if our opponents can block, we will choose to make them unblockable to get at least one trigger out of their connect trigger, but if our opponents don't have any blockers at all, we will just choose double strike to simply get the connect trigger twice. I have already seen a bunch of lists online that play this commander as a Voltron list, but I gotta say that my list doesn't include that many Voltron elements. There are a few equipments in it, yes, that's right, simply because we also want to close out the game or also want to create even more extra value, but as I have said, this feels like a control beatdown list. First of all, in the early game we will either play our mana rocks that we find, or we will play enchantments that will provide even more synergy with our strategy overall. For additional card draw, we play Phyrexian Arena. This card always finds a place in lists that I create, even though it got a bit out of date, but if you can curve into it nicely, you will still get to draw an additional card each turn. We follow it up with Black Market Connections. Sure, this will cost us a bunch of life over the course of the game, but drawing additional cards, creating treasure tokens and also creatures which we can use for Jin Sakai's attack trigger is always a nice thing. Since we have to choose with Jin Sakai which mode we want to use, either Ghost or Standoff, we also got Duelist's Heritage. This is a powerful enchantment that really helps us to control the game early on, simply because we can make one of our creatures unblockable with Jin Sakai's trigger and also use Duelist's Heritage to give that creature double strike. In addition to that, this enchantment also works for our opponents attacking each other, so if they do so, we can still give one of their creatures double strike. As I have talked about a few equipments, we also play Forge Anew. Its ETB trigger might come in handy depending on the state of the game, but what I like about this card is that we reduce our equip costs to 0 to save up a bunch of mana, and also being able to equip equipments at instant speed is extremely powerful, especially in a list like this. As I have said earlier, we try to go for a control approach, so being able to play cards with flash or equip cards with flash is really important in this list. To provide even more card draw, we also play Reconnaissance Mission. Sure, this card also shares a slot with Jin Sakai, but it can be a really powerful follow-up play on our next turn, and over the course of the game, because of its unlimited card draw, it can create a bunch of extra value. Last but not least, I have talked about playing cards with flash, which is exactly why we play Sigarda's 8. This card is most likely your best turn 1 play and will offer you a bunch of flexibility over the course of the game. There are a few setup creatures which we can play before Jin Sakai, and with Jin Sakai on the battlefield they will be even stronger. Starting off with Malcolm, Alluring Scoundrel. This card has inbuilt evasion due to flying, and with its looting mechanic we can find the cards that we need for the current situation, and later on, if we have enough counters on it, it will provide extra free value for us. What I like about its looting mechanic is the following card. It has a nice synergy with Squall, Seed Mercenary, because we can loot into the cards that we actually want to have in hand and discard a land, for example, and as soon as we connect with Squall, we can bring that card back to the battlefield. To create an even bigger mana advantage, we also play Father Adele. She also has inbuilt evasion due to Island Walk, and if we connect, we can search our opponent's library for a Soul Ring, which is a huge mana advantage for us, and with Jin Sakai, we can give her double strike to find another mana rock in addition to Soul Ring. We want to be left alone during our turn, which is why we play Voice of Victory. This card will give us peace during our turn, with which we can reserve resources for our opponent's turns to make sure to interact with everything that we don't like. For additional card draw, and also because we play a bunch of connive synergies, we play Gregor, Shrewd Magistrate. He also has inbuilt evasion due to Skulk, and with its connect trigger we will draw a card, With Jin Sakai's Double Strike we can draw 2 cards, and if we enable Connive on this guy we can draw even more cards. Last but not least, I have been talking about reserving resources during our turn or also playing our opponent's cards. This is why we play Thief of Sanity. Another great card with inbuilt evasion due to flying, and with this guy we can exile a bunch of cards from our opponents, which we then can play to save up our own resources. And now let's talk about a few equipments that I have added to my list. First up is Brotherhood Regalia. I do really like this card, simply so that Jin Sakai has ward on it and can't be blocked. With that, if he attacks one of our opponents, we can always give him Double Strike, and due to that we will draw a bunch of cards due to its connect trigger. We also play Genji Glove. This is quite an expensive equipment, but with our instant speed equip mechanics we can use that additional combat for one of our really powerful creatures to close out the game. We also play Pip-Boy 3000. This is either eluding mechanic, an Anthem equipment, or what we will most likely use, untap 2 lands, simply to have more resources available. If one of our opponents is really threatening our strategy, we play Quetus Spike. With that we can shred our opponent's life total in half, and if we enable Double Strike we can do that twice. For even more extra value we play the Key to the Vault. This is quite an underrated equipment card, and especially in this deck it really shines. Not only due to instant speed equipment synergies, but also due to us being able to give our attacking creature Double Strike. Last but not least, as I've said earlier, we want to be left alone in our turn, so we play Conqueror's Flail. With this card Jin Sakai can become a really powerful creature by itself, and we are left alone because our opponents aren't able to cast any spells during our turn. And now let's talk about our Wincons. We play Fallen Shinobi. If this guy can connect once or twice during our turn, we will exile a bunch of cards of our opponents, and the great thing about Fallen Shinobi is that we can play those cards. This means we can also secure our land drops with this one. I have been talking about Connive, which we can enable with Camise, Obscura Oculus. She's a great addition alongside Jin Sakai to enable even more looting mechanics, make creatures unblockable, and also give them Double Strike. We play Orochi Soul Reaver. Sure, compared to a few other cards it's not the most powerful connect trigger, but I do really like creating a treasure token with this guy for extra mana, which we will need to control our opponents. Talking about free value, we also play Silent Blade Oni. With this guy we can not only get a bunch of information about our opponent's hand, but we can also take their best card for the current situation to make them fall behind even more. I have been talking about Connive synergies. This is why we play Rafine, Scheming Seer. This card has been feared in Standard and is also feared in a few other formats, and there's definitely a reason why. It protects itself and it also enables a really powerful attack trigger. And last but not least, as you have seen with the Quetus Spike, we also play the Unstoppable Slasher, a creature that is really hard to get rid of and which also has a really powerful connect trigger, and especially if we enable Double Strike it turns even more threatening. And now let's talk about a few cards that will win you even more games. We play Excalibur, Sword of Eden. In many cases this can become a really powerful free spell in your deck because you have a bunch of legends that you play which will discount the Sword of Eden. Not every card has to be completely busted, but we play Dimir Cutpurse. I have never seen that card before, but I definitely had to add it to my list, simply because on Connect it provides card advantage for you and card disadvantage for your opponent. And giving this creature Double Strike is exactly what we want to do. For even more free value we play Rev, Tithe Extractor. If one of our creatures connects with one of our opponents we will create a treasure token, and in addition to that steal their top card from their library. And as this deck is intended to attack each of your opponents once each turn, this can not only create a bunch of treasure tokens but also give you a bunch of cards which we can use in your favor. I do also like that one of your attacking creatures gets Death Touch. And last but not least, one of the best cards in this deck, which I have never seen in any other list, is Leyline of Anticipation. As we are an Esper list that focuses beatdown, we really have to spread our resources around the whole turn cycle. Being able to play all of our cards with flash is a huge advantage that your opponents first need to adjust to. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I would play in Jin Sakai. Let me know which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I shall feature next. Make sure to check out my full deck list in the notes below, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.